everybody! You can see a big fluffy cattail here, and now you can't. So I've said it in previous videos, but I did first have the idea for my novel when I was very young. I was 13, still in middle school, and for some reason I decided to keep this idea with me for 10 years and eventually turn it into my debut novel. But it has changed so much that if I were to write 2 stories based on the original and the new one, you would not think they ever started at the same place. So, like many aspiring writers, I was also an aspiring writer when I was younger. I've always wanted to be a writer, and it's the only thing I think I will ever want to be. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not like that old now, I'm only like 23. But I'm more worldly than you might imagine. Finished college, started a master's degree, all that. But I have some advice that I think applies to everybody, but also to writers who are still in middle school or high school and can dream of nothing but being a writer. So these are my 10 pieces of advice for writers younger than I am. Number 1 is write often and start writing now. I say this because I think that as soon as you know you want to be an author and want to make that your career in the future, you should start the practice of writing every day and make it a habit now. It's a habit I preach to adults who want to become writers, so if you start the habit now, then you're already a step ahead of anybody older than you. Number 2 is, yes, write every day, write often, but don't worry if your writing is good. And don't worry about if what you're writing will get published. This is advice for people who are still very young, which means they have a lot of their life left. If you're younger than me, and I'm young, I still have a lot of my life left, then don't worry about being published now. Sometimes it's hard when you read famous works of literature in your English class in high school or whatever, and you hear like, oh, they published this amazing creation work of art and they were only 17 years old. And you feel discouraged thinking, well, I'm already 18 and I haven't published anything. I'm not good enough. It's not true. You've got a lot of your life left. If you're under 20 years old, you have like 80 years left of your life. Okay, yes. My camera died. I'm back. Pretty much just don't worry about if your writing is good or if it's going to get published right now. You're too young. Write because you love writing and because it's good practice to write now. Number 3, don't let anyone tell you that writing is a bad career choice or that you'll never make it as an author. I think this is kind of like an almost universal experience amongst people who want to be authors, is that at some point when they were younger and they expressed their desire to become an author, some adult that they looked up to or respected or was in some position of authority told them that they would never make it as a writer or that writing is not a suitable career choice. And although it's true that it's hard to make money as an author, that doesn't mean that you can't, and that through hard work you can't follow your dreams and have the career you've always wanted. So don't let anybody, your parents, teachers, or any adult ever tell you that you can't make writing a career. You can, it's just going to be a whole lot of work and you might not make a ton of money from it. And either way, it doesn't even really matter if you can make it your career. If you publish books and you're happy and you love writing, you should do it anyway. Number 4, and this is one that is going to make me sound a little bit hypocritical, but your first novel idea might not be your best, and honestly it probably isn't. And I know this is hypocritical because I said that I had the idea for my novel when I was in middle school, but 1, it wasn't my first ever idea for a novel, and 2, it's changed a lot and I've allowed it to change without growing too attached to the original idea. And that is really the pitfall that some young authors fall into, is that they get so attached to their first or one of their first ideas for a novel that they're not willing to let it change and grow as society or they change, grow, read more, grow smarter, and, you know, do research in the field and do research in the industry and come to really understand what would make a good novel and what wouldn't. If you become so attached to the original idea, sometimes you can become blind to the fact that it is just a mediocre idea that you thought of as a 13-year-old and is truly not as great as you think it is, or not as widely appealing. Now, I could be totally wrong, and you could have a super incredible and genius idea for a book at 13. I didn't, but I guess that doesn't mean you won't, but you also might not have a good idea at 13. And that's okay. Number 5 is kind of similar, and that is having your first writing project be a novel might not be the best idea. I say this because young writers are still learning a lot of writing conventions and tropes and cliches, and trying to tackle a full-length, completely original novel is a huge and daunting task, even for an adult. And while you're still learning how to be a good writer and what that means and finding your writing style, trying to write a complete publishable novel is asking a lot of yourself, especially because you're probably still in school. Start by writing short stories or flash fiction, or novellas even. It doesn't really matter, just start with something smaller and more manageable while you're learning what your writing style is and where you fit into the overall writing community. Number 6 also sort of ties in with that, and that is to take one, or at least one, writing class. I know a lot of authors love to claim that they are self-taught and they never took a writing class, and although in some ways that's admirable, I think that it's not always a good thing. There is a lot of value to be found in taking at least one writing class, especially when taught by a good teacher or professor, because not only will you get a chance to read other work by other people in the same boat as you, so other people who are interested in creative writing around your own age and understanding their writing styles, what they're going through, and that sort of thing, but honestly, a teacher can give you some really invaluable advice you might not have learned otherwise, especially if they had any sort of experience in the field. I've only ever taken one creative writing class, but the advice I got from my professor in that class is advice I still use and take with me today because it works and it has made my writing so much better for having learned it. And I know that there's like this weird stigma against taking creative writing classes because there are some very famous, popular authors that never took them, but there's also nothing wrong with them. You don't have to take all of the advice your professors offer you, but you should also listen to them and try and learn from them because you don't know everything and authors on YouTube don't know everything either. It's good to take advice from a lot of different kinds of people and piece it together into what works best for you. And number 7, and this is something that is going to be kind of a hard pill to swallow for some of you, and that is that writing is not and should not be the most important thing in your life right now. I know that a lot of you, especially if you're introverted like I am, don't want to hear this, but it's just the honest truth. You might love writing and you might want to make it a career, and you might think that you hate every other person in your school, in your grade right now, but in reality you're doing yourself and your writing a lot more harm than good. The old adage about writing what you know is not always perfect advice, but in some scenarios it's really crucial. It's really difficult to write about a realistic, healthy relationship if you've never been in one and you've never even had your first kiss. It's really difficult to write about jobs, hardship, death, friendships, and loss of friendships if you've never experienced those things. Reading about them in novels or watching them in movies and TV shows is not the same as experiencing those events in your real life. So while you're still young, experience those things when you can. Of course, this is coming from someone who is still very young, but to be fair, I don't spend all of my time writing now either. I still will take days off from writing so I can go out with my friends and hang out, or get drinks, or spend time with my boyfriend, or work a job. It's really important for me, since I know I'm still young, to balance those things in my life. I don't want to miss out on life opportunities in my young 20s just because I thought right now is the only time I have to write and finish my book. I still have so many years ahead of me to be an author, and so I need to experience things I can only experience right now while I can. And if you are young or younger than me, that's true for you too. Not to mention, if you're still in school, you need to focus on your schoolwork. I know you don't want to hear it because you probably don't love school, or you don't like the people in your classes, or maybe there's just certain school subjects that you don't like. But either way, if you don't focus on your school and your grades now, you're going to super regret it later on in life. Take it from personal experience. I kind of skated through all through high school and wasn't able to get into pretty much any of the colleges I really wanted to get into. And although I loved my college experience and I ended up loving the college I went to, I was really disappointed in myself when I was going into my freshman year for not being able to get into a university that I wanted to go to above all else. So then I promised myself in university that I would work hard and get the grades I thought I deserved. And I did, and now I'm at a top-tier university for my degree. And maybe you think none of that matters, but in the future you will regret not working harder when you have the chance and doing the absolute best you can in every field of your life. It's not cool to skip off schoolwork and not get good grades. And I promise you in the future it's going to be way more cool, or everybody will think it's more cool when you get straight A's or high B's instead, and you're the cool smart person instead of the lazy slacker. I know that sounds super weird, but trust me, keep up with your schoolwork, make friends, meet people, and form relationships and bonds that you can only form right now. Especially because once you leave college, it's so much harder to meet new people and make new friends. Not only will you and your life thank me for it, but believe it or not, your writing will thank me for it too. But for now, that's all I got for you guys. If any of my advice was helpful, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!